All right, so we are going to finish up by doing the last lecture of the unit. It's going to be about the naming again, but it's going to be the second half that we have not done yet. Okay, so let's start with the review problem, going over what we learned last time. So we're going to be writing the chemical equation between ammonium and sulfur's MCI. So if you guys are comfortable doing this, if you guys remember how to do it, you guys can get started on it by finding ammonia and sulfur's MCI. So try writing that on your lecture notes for me. So write down ammonium and sulfur's MCI. Alrighty, guys. So this should be pretty simple. If you guys look for ammonium, ammonium is NH4 plus. So on your for number one, we are going to write NH4 plus. Okay. And then for sulfur's MCI, you need to go to the periodic table. So if you guys pull up the periodic table, sulfur is right here underneath the -2 column. So it's going to be S2 minus. So we got NH4 plus and S2 minus. Everybody good with that so far? All right, so we're going to be writing the equation. So we got to write the plus sign and the arrow. Okay, but let's start off by balancing out the positive and the negative ion. So hopefully you guys can see you're going to need 2 ammoniums to balance out the 1 sulfur. Okay, and that way you get 2 positive ones to balance out the -2. It's going to make 1 compound. And again, the easiest way to do this is just write the cation and the anion next to each other like this. Since you need 2 of the ammoniums, you put parentheses around the cation, and that's it. Okay, so the compound that you make is right here, NH parentheses NH4 parentheses 2S. Okay. So that's what we went over last time. We talked about the nomenclature, the naming. We're going to write the name in just a second. But any questions on the formula? For your exam, just know you're going to be writing the entire equation just like this. So you're going to have all the numbers, all the letters in the correct positions. Okay, so if you have any questions on why a number is in a certain position, please let me know. Yeah. No, there's partial credit. Yeah. So like, let's say for example, you forget the 1 here, you only lose credit for that part. Yeah. Great question. Yeah. So there's partial credit. Okay, let's write the name of the ionic compound, and then we'll be all done. And for the name, we have to look at the naming rules. So if you guys have that half sheet with the polyatomics and the naming rules, this will be a good time to have that out. If you lost yours, I have more up here so you can pick it up. But let's take a look at the naming rules. All right, so the first thing we have to do is figure out, or we have to write down the cation. It says for the naming rules, the cations, they keep their names regardless of the charge. Okay, so the name of our cation right here is going to be ammonium, so we're just going to write ammonium. Okay, and we just get that from the polyatomic chart. All right, so for the second part of the name, the sulfur, you're going to be taking a look at sulfur right here. Now, you have to figure out, does it come from the periodic table? Do we use this first rule? Or does it come from the polyatomic chart? If you guys take a look at sulfur, it obviously comes from the periodic table. And so we're going to be using this rule right here. So if we take a look, sulfur turns into sulfide. So our compound right here is going to be ammonium. And then the second part of the name is going to be sulfide. Okay, there you go. That is going to be the name of our compound. Okay, so that's what we covered last time. Yes. Great question. So on your exam, you will have the periodic table and you will have the polyatomic chart, but you will not have the naming rules. So you're going to have to know the naming rules. Okay. If you guys mess up on like the IDE thing, so if you write like sulfide or oxide, I'm not going to take off points for that. But you just need to be able to identify, you change the ending of the elements to IDE and you keep the polyatomic. Okay. So just to clarify, you will have the periodic table and you'll have this top part right here. Okay, so you don't need to memorize these, but you will not have these naming rules here on the bottom. Okay. And the test will be on paper. It's not going to be on Canvas. And there's like 15 versions of the test. So if you guys copy the person next to you, you'll look kind of dumb because you'll have the wrong answer. So just make sure you're familiar with naming rules. Okay. All right. Any questions? Okay, so let's go on to the next part of, or the last part of this unit. And it's going to be the next naming rule. So I want you guys to take a look at the chart with the naming rules. We're going to be looking at this rule, the one that I said we were going to skip last time. We're going to be looking at this rule right here, okay? So there's a lot of writing here, but if you just want to keep it simple, this naming rule has to do with cations that do not have a pattern on the MCI chart. So what do I mean by that? If we take a look at the periodic table, we said that we have patterns for these columns right here, right? +1, +2, +3, -4, so on and so forth. We have a column for all these red sections that I highlighted, right? But you guys remember how we said here there is no pattern, right? In this middle section. This last naming rule has to do with the elements in this middle section right here. So the part from group 3 through 12, this is what this last naming rule is. Okay, so it's very simple. This last naming rule is basically saying if you have an element from this middle section, so for example, if you have like iron or tungsten or silver, anything that comes from this middle section right here, all you have to do is add one small thing at the end. You still write the name. So if it's Fe, you still write iron. However, you also need to add parentheses with the charge. Okay, so if we take a look at this rule right here. So for example, if you have iron that's +2, you have to write iron, parentheses, and Roman numeral 2. If it's iron +3, you write iron, parentheses, Roman numeral. And that's pretty much it. You're just adding these parentheses with the charge on the inside. Yeah, so you write 1. That's correct. So let's say, for example, you have a gold, which is AU, and let's say it's +1. Then you would write gold, parentheses, and then 1. Okay. If you have something like gold 4, you would write gold, and then you would write IV for that. Okay. Yes. Yeah, I'm going to write the Roman numerals for you right here. So yeah, if you guys don't know the Roman numerals, you guys can write it down on your chart right now for reference. 1 is just I. 2 is II. 3 is III. 4 is IV. And 5 is V. And you won't get anything higher than 5. Okay, yeah. And then on your test, if you don't know the Roman numerals, you just write 3. I'll give you credit for it. Yeah. Okay, so on the Canvas quiz, since it is automatically graded, you will have to put the Roman numerals, but you'll have this handy. But on your test, I'll be a little bit lenient with the parentheses. If you just put like a 4 instead of IV, I'll still give you credit for that. You just need to put the right number. Okay. Okay, but that's pretty much the last naming rule. Again, this has to do with elements in groups 3 through 12, that middle section that do not have a pattern. You have to write the charge of the ion in parentheses. Okay, but do not do this for the ones that do have a pattern. So like Na, which is always 1, we don't do the charge in the middle, okay? All right, I'll give you guys a second to copy down the Roman numerals or anything that you need. Alrighty, guys, let's do some practice problems. I think that's the best way to do it. We'll do 4 today, and then I'll have you guys try or get started on your assignment. So we're gonna do one together, and I'll have you guys try 2 on your own. So first thing you're going to do, same thing as usual. You're just going to write the chemical equation. Okay, so this one right here, you have Au plus and Cl minus. Hopefully this one's pretty easy, right? It's +1 and -1, so you only need 1 of each. Okay, you draw the arrow, and the compound that you make is AuCl. And since there's +1 and -1, you can just write it exactly, just right next to each other. No numbers necessary. Okay, so hopefully this part is very easy now. You will get a bit more practice with this when we do our lab. You're going to be writing a bunch of these equations for our lab because we'll be actually making these ionic compounds next week, and you'll be seeing what they look like, and we'll be doing some research on what they are used for. But hopefully this equation is not too bad. So if you have questions on how to do this, please let me know because you're guaranteed to have questions where you write this whole equation on your exam next 2 weeks from now. Okay, let's do the naming now. So if you guys take a look at the cation, which is Au, okay, if you guys take a look on the periodic table, it's in the section that does not have the pattern, right? Au is right here. So for this one, we need to use the new naming rule where we use the parentheses. Okay, so Au is gold, so we're going to write gold. And if you take a look, it's +1, right? So we're going to do parentheses, Roman numeral 1. Okay, because AU's charged is positive 1. God bless you. So this is what we use for this parentheses right here. So great question. It's only for the cation, so you'll never have a negative in the parentheses. Yeah. All right, and then for the anion, it's the same thing. It's going to be Cl. So if we look at Cl on the periodic table, we should remember this because we use this so often. It's chlorine, but we changed the ending to IDE, so it's chloride. And there you go, guys. That is the name of this compound. Again, it's pretty much the same thing that we did last time. The only difference is gold does not have a pattern, so we have to write the charge in parentheses right after. So it's gold 1 chloride. If you write gold chloride, it would be incorrect. Since it comes from the middle of the periodic table, you have to add the parentheses with the charge. Okay? Yes.
So if you have the number in front of it, just put the number instead.
Which number?
No, just like if it had like a +3, just put a +3.
Then you would put 3 in the parentheses. That's correct. Sorry to answer. Alrighty, guys. I will give you guys about 3 minutes. See if you guys can try number 2. Check with the person next to you after you finish, and then we'll go over in 3 minutes. And then we'll do the last 2 questions for today, and that'll be the end of the unit. Okay. Alrighty, guys. So I have the answer for the second practice problem up there. Titanium 4+ is your cation. If you guys take a look at the chart, cyanide is Cn-, and you need 4 of those. So the compound that you make will be Ti, and then you put the Cn in parentheses, and you put a 4 behind it. Okay? Any questions about the equation? Hopefully that part's not too bad now. Okay, let's do the naming now. So if you take a look at Ti, titanium, on the periodic table, you'll notice Ti is in this middle section right here, the part that has no pattern. So we have to use the rule that we learned today. So we're going to write the name for Ti, which is titanium. Okay, and then since it's positive 4, we have to write 4 in Roman numerals behind it, so IV. And then Cn comes from the polyatomic chart, which is just cyanide. So we just write cyanide. So we have titanium 4 cyanide. Okay, just remember, this parentheses with the Roman numeral, it comes from the charge, whether it's +1, +2, +3. It's not about how many titaniums there are. It's about the charge on the titanium, okay? So titanium 4 cyanide. Right. All right, any questions? Okay. All right, we're going to do one last one together, and it's the one where you go backwards, where I give you the name, and then you have to find the formula and write the equation. Yeah. Okay, but let's take a look at this one right here. We got iron 3 nitrate. I know there's number 4, but let's skip that one for today. Okay, so what you want to do here is first you want to use the name to figure out the formula. Okay, so let's take a look at iron 3. So if we take a look at iron on the periodic table, it's going to be right here. It's Fe. Okay, so iron 3 is going to be Fe 3+ because it's parentheses 3. So it's iron 3+. It's not saying there's 3 irons. It's just saying that the iron is +3. All right, for the anion, we have nitrate. So if you guys take a look at your polyatomic chart, you guys will see that nitrate is NO3-. So nitrate is NO3-, and you get this from the polyatomic chart. Okay, so from there, we pretty much have all the tools to write the equation. Okay, so we're going to be combining these 2 together to make iron 3 nitrate. Well, hopefully you guys can see that it's 1 iron 3+, and you're going to need 3 nitrates. Okay. We draw an arrow. We're going to make 1 compound. And the formula of the compound that we make is Fe. And then we put NO3 next to it, and you need 3 of them to balance it out. And there you go. That's pretty much it. So again, same thing that we've been doing, just a different variation. This time I give you the name, and then you just dissect the formula from it.